The episode starts with Garfield in his beast form looking tired and battered and nasty with all that yuck and grime surrounding him. And then she appears once again, one of my favorite villains of all time, ELSA. And you may think I will have some comments towards her, but I won't. Because through meditation and sheer force of will, I am now focused, I am enlightened, I have overcome the female figure. Nothing can affect me now. Ay, 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 mamacita! ELSA, looking buoyant as usual. Go look it up, kids. You think I tell jokes? These are not jokes. I do not tell jokes. I profess onions. There's layers to this, okay? Anyway, the show reminds us that there's a fight in the middle of all of this. I got distracted there for a second, and it appears that Garfield is facing Kurgan. Garfield is still quite hesitant to hurt the little Pokemon that were created by Capella because those are in fact not Pokemon that were just spawned out of thin air, those are civilians that were transformed into those hideous, sometimes cute, monsters by Capella. But we see that Kurgan has no such hesitation because it shows his commitment, his Kakugo, to the way of the warrior. Or something along those lines. I will say that Garfield is still being very conscious that those are civilians. He's not necessarily doing a bad thing. It doesn't show that he has a lack of resolve, just that he has more awareness for the lives of other people. But yeah, we'll move on. The fact is that at this point in the series at least, Garfield is not strong enough to be taking care and sparing the civilians while fighting Kurgan at the same time. We hope that one day he can maybe get to that point, but he is, unfortunately for Subaru, not Reinhardt. He is much weaker and he's having trouble as he is being out-armed by Kurgan. One has 2, the other has 8 arms. It's just not fair, man. And because he is being outmuscled and outmaneuvered and outskilled by Kurgan, he is literally yeeted into the ground, breaks the floor, and hopefully he doesn't start exploring the layers of the earth like Regulus did in a past episode, which is strange it happened 2 episodes in a row. Hopefully this time it will go a bit better for our favorite cat. We go back to Otto, who's unleashing his fearsome Laprases on Gluttony, and these Laprases are quite savage. Canonically speaking, Otto literally had to convince them, talk to them, in order to get them to attack Gluttony. I just wonder what he said. Because in the first episode of this season, we saw that the Laprases roaming around the city, and to be clear, they are water dragons, not Laprases, the actual Pokemon, okay? Just in case that's not clear. But, but we do wonder because they seemed so docile in the first episode. I mean, they just wander around the city, they're used for transportation. So what did Otto actually say to make them so eager to fight this pajama-wearing weirdo? Was he just like, hey man, you know what Gluttony said about your mother? You won't believe it. Unfortunately for them, they are not able to defend their mother's honor because Roy is literally eating them up and it does not sound pretty or look pretty. I mean, the aftermath is just horrifying and the noises they make, I don't know where the studio went to get those noises, and quite honestly, I would prefer to keep it in the dark. But fear not, because Felt has unleashed her ultimate weapon, Gaston, the man who has the same name as the douchebag dude from Beauty and the Beast, which always makes me chuckle. And he is actually strong. He can apparently use his mana flow to make some sort of shield in his abdomen, which is super cool actually for a character I still can't believe came back to the story. I thought for sure when I read volume 1 that was going to be like a throwaway gag character, but they actually came back and they're actually doing work, which is super impressive. Also, and I'm sure this is addressed in some side story, but I do wonder who taught Gaston, because if Reinhardt, the complete musclehead, can actually be a good teacher, then that's quite impressive, because very strong characters, especially in anime, usually have the cliche of being very bad at teaching because they just take everything for granted. So if it was Reinhardt teaching him, that's super impressive. We then transition to a very cool scene between Al and Capella with the shadows in motion, and it shows their fight without really showing it. And I will say, even though I love well animated scenes, as we'll get to in a bit, if you've already seen the episode then you know which scene I'm talking about, but I also really love certain scenes like this where you get a lot of value for your buck. You don't have actual super complex or intricate animation, but you can still get a super cool visual effect out of it. And also it fits the mood and the character in question because shadows dancing in the dark gives us a little bit of a lustful feel. For the more unattentive, and in case the anime has not been as explicit as a light novel, Capella outright says that it was Al who opened up the floodgates and was going around hunting members of the Council of Ten. Al does deny all of the allegations. He pleads the fifth, I think. I don't really know what that means, but I do know Americans say that a lot, so I hope this makes sense. I hope it's not the fourth or the third or whatever. It doesn't matter. But then Capella starts going even deeper into her seductive methods, saying she wants to take his mask and then take him to bed and make love with him. Wow! Hold on. Stop. It's time to take a break. We are here for the action and for Elsa, not for you. Sadly for her, Al is not interested in freaks, but he is one, and he starts doing this sort of roleplay as an embarrassed high school girl with the knee band and the hand to the face, and it's super fun to watch, and it made me think that even though we had Katsura in the last episode, I think Al would fit into a random Gintama episode perfectly. The dude would just fit the show and feel right at home. In her efforts to be piped by the man with one arm and one helmet, that sounds like a very weird video which you should not Google, Capella starts transforming her body to become more like Priscilla. We see her hair change color, her skin change color, we see her chest augmenting. We see that despite her becoming more beautiful, because she looks like Priscilla, yes, I just complimented Priscilla. It was not on purpose, but it just happened. She's becoming more beautiful, but the transformation itself looks weird and disturbing, and the sounds it makes, the sound effects in Rezero once again are so good. It just sounds yucky and repulsive. So it's like she uses beauty as a layer, as a mask, but we can see clearly that underneath she's ugly inside. Al does agree with me, saying she is disgusting and he hates her, and then proceeds to have one of the most calm, cool, collected, professional, and brutal looking fights in the entire show. The dude slices her up, literally explodes her, and I don't know what he could have done more. It still didn't work because obviously he can't just do a little bit of damage because she will regenerate, but he literally disintegrated her and she still came back. So the man is pretty cooked. And as a side note, for those of you that say that Al is Subaru, Al just used earth and fire magic, while Subaru is only compatible with dark magic. So, checkmate. Gotcha! Ha ha ha! We then go back to Kurgan and the wet kitty cat, and we get a little bit more of a lore drop on him. We see that he was ostracized but managed to overcome and still fight for his tribe with his sheer strength, and that he has the Onibocho, the devil cleavers, which he only uses against worthy opponents. We then get more cool action scenes, which everything between these two just looks super good. We get once again the cliche that I love of a character biting a sword and then destroying it with his bare teeth, which is the second time, I believe, happened in Arc 5. I think Ricardo was the first one to do that, but either way, it always looks cool, so I don't care. And then we see that Garfield would also be pretty good for a goalkeeper, because he stopped one pretty big goal coming after him. Once again, Kurgan uses his arm advantage to get one up on Garfield, giving him a little bit of the chokey, and so they go down the drain so that Garfield can try again and see if he can overcome the many arms of Kurgan. They are flushed into one of the shelters where Garfield's half-siblings are, so if the stakes were not high enough yet, they sure are now. Then one stray Pokemon tries to attack the siblings, and Garfield starts daydreaming about Elsa, something I can deeply relate to, happens to me all the time. And this scene is super trippy, especially if you're listening to it with headphones. The voices in my head just start speaking to me and whispering, and it's super creepy, even more than Call of the Witch, which I did not expect. And listen, a bit of schizophrenia for Elsa, I think that's a worthy trait in my book, so I will take it all day long. Mamacita. And then she even says that she loves Garfield, and my AC must have malfunctioned because I was getting hot around this time. And by the way, Kurgan closing the hole with his sword was super cool, super unnecessary, but it added a ton of style points. And then we see that Garfield's little brother never went to an actual wrestling event because he does not seem to be able to quite chant in rhythm. It has to be something like gorgeous tiger, dun dun dun. Gorgeous tiger, dun dun dun. He didn't quite have the rhythm, but he tried, and that's what matters. And then Tact of Heroes starts playing as Garfield declares that he is fighting for his family and to protect the good people of Pristella, and we see a shot of them in the background, and we see that this shelter is a very close space, so it's very cramped in there. They won't have much space to move around and dodge. They're going to get up close and just bang it out. And then Kurgan draws the Devil Cleavers, showing that he respects Garfield as a worthy opponent, and then the fight starts and it just looks great with the choreography. Garfield, look at the knee, look at the moves, what was that? And then I was prepared to see a fight, but we're just having a spectacle. The fight starts ascending and I don't even know what's going on anymore. Garfield just starts silent casting Earth magic while fighting, and then we go to the fisheye lens and then everything is connecting and moving. Garfield comes out to the side looking like a demon possessed, but he takes an attack, breaks his arm and then breaks his shoulder, but he goes high and then he goes deep for the ultimate bite. Yum 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 yum. Numbing down that dude so hard he literally sent him back to MS Paint. That's how strong it was. And it was so incredible, dare I say, so magnificent, that Kurgan literally speaks for one final time. And as he shatters into dust, we see that Garfield has surpassed himself, has surpassed the reincarnated Kurgan, and is now a true, full-fledged warrior. And the most important part, it appears that even though Kurgan was reincarnated and disappeared back into dust, that is not the case with the Devil Cleavers, which are still there, so Garfield defeated the boss and got some sweet item drops. The episode ends with a glimpse of Theresia versus Wilhelm, as we see that she's clearly mad because she's giving her husband the silent treatment, and it just, every man can relate with that. So this was a great episode, tremendous episode. Rezero usually does not get these types of Sakuga excellent animation episodes, so this was definitely an unexpected but well-deserved treat. I will say I'm glad I was wrong, because coming into this season I expected that the fights that would have less attention paid to them, mostly because to their relative importance to the story, would be the Liliana, the Priscilla versus Shirius fight, and Garfield versus Kurgan. Thankfully, I was wrong about Garfield versus Kurgan, because this absolutely banged, and I did not expect him to get a full episode, almost an entire episode dedicated to this fight. It was just amazing. I also woke up today, and obviously I woke up today or I wouldn't be recording this video, but what I mean is my brain takes like an hour or two to really start functioning. I am not like Subaru, I am not someone who just wakes up ready to grind and start the day. That is not me, I am a slow starter, and so I hopped on X and I saw everybody talking about Vincent. I was like, Vincent? And I'm currently reading Arc 7, and so I was like, Vincent Wallachia? That doesn't make any sense, because they are already cutting material, so why would they make time for a filler scene of a character that doesn't even make sense to be introduced this early in the story? But then I discovered it was not Vincent Wallachia, it was Vincent Charizard, and I was even more confused. What does Pokemon have to do with this? Thankfully, I realized what everybody was talking about and how dumb I was, and so I will not make the same mistake again. I apologize, Big Vincent. I was not familiar with your game, but now I am. I will say though, and I know this is once again one of my controversial opinions that people will perhaps get pissy in the comments, but you know what you're getting from me, and that is honesty. And I will be honest, I like fights. In anime, you have like two schools of thought. You have the very out there, outrageous, super colorful, bright, exaggerated, superhuman fight, or you have the gritty, nasty, close combat. And I want to get dirty, I want to get down in there and just bang it out like men. So I saw people comparing Elsa and Garfield versus Garfield and Kurgan, and I will say, even though obviously I'm super biased because Elsa is one of my favorite characters, and no, you piggies, it's not just because of her physical appearance, although that does play a part. To me, Elsa versus Garfield is still the better fight, even though it's not as well animated and definitely nowhere near as flashy, but it's just more gritty and it's just the type of fights that I enjoy more. That part in specific where they're biting each other and you can see the blood and the fierceness and the facial expressions. It's so hot, I get so hard. Wait, no, take it back. Rewind, delete that, editor. I don't know why I'm pretending that I have an editor. It's just me who edits these videos. But anyway, let's move on. Anyway, the episode was tremendous, super well animated, way better than what I was expecting, especially after the Priscilla episode. I was expecting something along those lines in terms of animation and quality, and this just blew my mind when I saw it. And also, this can't be understated, and I think it's one of the many reasons why Rezero captivates so many people. This series has the perfect mix of personal drama and sometimes heartfelt character relatability. Like, for example, we had an episode that was literally just a dude yapping into a microphone, and it just mesmerized people. And then we combined that with these gorgeous action scenes where not only is the action super impressive visually, but you also are feeling for the character, and you know the stakes are super high, and you are motivated to watch them and to see them win and fight, and it's just the perfect mix. I won't say that ReZero is the perfect series because nothing is perfect. However, I will say it's kind of close. Anyway, enough glazing for today. Be sure to leave your thoughts about the episode in the comment section below. Be sure to follow me, links in the description, like, subscribe, and ciao!